here to talk to you today about LifeEdited. And will I see the slides down here? Maybe? No? No. There we go. I'm a web guy. I started a web firm in 1995, pre-Netscape. I'm also a designer. This is a ceramic cup that I designed after the iconic New York cup. It's in the MoMA and 200 other stores. And I'm an environmentalist. I started Tree Hugger in 2004. It's one of the larger sites. It belongs to Discovery now and gets about 5 million people a month. Please check it out. I want to talk to you about a problem that my most recent project has been focused on. Essentially, we've become, over the last 50, 60 years, America the big. Big trucks, big cars, big houses. Even the portion size has gone from an average of around 8 ounces to 20 ounces now. So that's 2.5 times as big, a lot bigger. And interestingly, the very same thing has happened to our housing. So the average housing size, house size back in the 50s was 1,000 square feet. Now it's 2,500. While at the same time, we have smaller families. So what that translates to is about 3 times the space per person. That's not just a little bit more, that's a lot more space. So you'd think with all this extra space, we'd have plenty of room for all our stuff. Not so much, right? Most of us have one of these or a version of it, maybe a bunch of boxes. We're not necessarily sure what's in those boxes, but we are sure that we want to keep a hold of them. Personal storage industry is a massive industry, $22 billion, 2.2 billion square feet, so absolutely huge. So we've become so consumerist that despite having all this space, we need more space off-site. So the question should be, what has that got us? Lots of space, lots of stuff. Well, lots of credit card debt, and you've seen what's happened in housing in the last number of years, so not so good on the debt front. We use about 4 times the energy that we used to, and therefore our environmental footprints are much larger because our energy sources are generally quite dirty. And all this would make some sense if we were happier. But what turns out that happiness levels have also flatlined over the same period. So we at LifeEdited believe there's a new equation, and that equation is essentially, if done well, we can apply design, technology, and behavior change to create lifestyles with less space and less stuff. And what's that's going to equal? It's a great way to save some money. It's a great way to reduce your footprint. And simplifying your life is going to give you a little more time, a little more ease, a little more peace. And therefore, we think, a little more happiness. We think, in short, that less done well can equal more. And that editing is really the skill of the century, whether it's what you do with your time, your space, your stuff. What's interesting is that we were there 50 years ago, much smaller lives. Right now, I don't think we think about people in Spain, France, and the UK and think, oh, those terrible lifestyle over there. They've actually got great lifestyles, and they, in fact, live with about half of the space that we do. So let me talk to you about the first built apartment that we've done as part of LifeEdited. I basically wanted to design my own place. I built this big green site. I have 7 years of design school, and so I wanted to make a cool place, and I wanted it to be green. So I started thinking about it, and what I realized is that every cubic foot in a place requires you to design it, requires you to put stuff in it, and then you have to heat it, and cool it, and light it, and clean it, and maintain it, and insure it, and think about it. There's a lot of stuff. So if you want to do a greener thing and simplify your life, smaller spaces. So I bought this really crappy apartment in Soho in Manhattan, and I put together a really demanding brief. I wanted a room for a couple, work at home, little home office. I wanted to be able to have a sit-down dinner for 10 or 12 people. I wanted to be able to have guests over in a really civil manner. And I also am a big kite surfer and surfer, so I wanted lots of storage for my stuff. So I did something that was fairly risky, hadn't really been done very much before, is I crowdsourced it. So I worked with Javoto.com, raised some money for prizes, and ran a design contest. We got 300 entries from all around the world, some really great stuff, and I picked these 2 Romanian architecture students. Here's the project. So the first parts are renderings. This is a bird's eye view, and the basic idea is kitchen and bathroom, and then the main space that transforms into 5 or so different spaces through the use of a moving wall and transforming furniture. So here's the main space, a little stand-up or sit-down office in the wall. There's a very cool resource furniture table that we built the kitchen around. So you just pull this table out. It can sit 2 or 4 or 6 or 8 or 10. So a really civil, great sit-down dinner for 10 in a 400 square foot apartment. Main space, guests are coming over. There's a wall you just pull out by hand, comes out, revealing a nice little wood room with bunk beds that fold out of the wall and a curtain that comes out and magnets to the end of the wall for privacy. Then on the other side, where the master is, 2 fingers pulls out a bed over the couch. And for your audio-visual needs, we have a pull-down screen and a projector. The New York Times covered it in, I think, May, called it the Apartment of the Future, which made me quite happy. And here are a bunch of pictures of the actual apartment, entryway, kitchen, kitchen on the left. You can see the table leaves and the stacking chairs for the dinner parties. Here's the couch, which the bed comes out. It's got a great weighted shelf that just sort of keeps everything level. And so you can literally have a vase on there, and it stays there. So that's the apartment. So how do you do this? I'm going to take you guys through the basic principles of life editing. The first one is digitization. Digitization is basically magic. You take physical things and you make them disappear. So if you're trying to live small, that makes a lot of sense. Books, music, video, paper. There's these great sheet scanners that make searchable PDFs. You can get rid of all of that stuff immediately. You also need to get over your inner pack rat, and this isn't easy for many of us. You have to learn how to edit ruthlessly. So that shirt that I haven't worn for 2 years, it's time for me to either sell it or give it away or recycle it and just get rid of it. And we have to apply that to our entire lives. We also want to have the right number of things. So for example, why have a 5 or 6 burner stove when you rarely use more than 3? So in the LifeEdited apartment, we have these awesome plug-in induction burners. We store 3 of them in a drawer, and you just pull out as many as you need. How many knives do you need? Is the number of blue jeans you should own 17? We also want things that are the right size, just big enough that they do the trick. So if you think about towels, we found these great microfiber towels. They're about half of the thickness of a normal towel, so they take up half of the space, and they also make for half of the laundry. Here's a combination toilet and sink, where if you wash your hands in the sink, the water is used to flush the toilet. Very space efficient. We're not saying you need to walk around in a loincloth and you shouldn't own anything. What we are saying is you should own less but better. It's okay to spend on the right things. A great pair of resolable shoes, a chair that'll last decades, a set of cast iron cookware that you can give to your grandchildren. We want things that nest and stack, so we're really space efficient. So here's a great bookshelf. You can see the colored parts are tables and chairs. So here's a woman, the designer, pulling out a table. And here's a lovely little video of a chair. Sorry, 2 chairs. 3 chairs. Awesome. Stackable cookware. Joseph makes some amazing stuff. We also want stuff that folds and flattens. So here's a great chair that just hangs on the wall. Looks beautiful just like that, and you take it off and use it as chairs. Here's a bike that I designed. It's called the Thin Bike. And Schindelhauer is going to put it out next year. And the concept here is bikes are really awkward because of their wide handlebars and their pedals. And so with folding pedals and a special system allows you to turn the handlebar, all of a sudden the bike goes into a third the width. And so you can keep it in your apartment, go through stairways and sidewalks and the like. We also want things to do double duty, whether they're space or products. So this is a resource furniture piece. You don't sleep when you eat, you don't eat when you sleep, so having those two functions occupy the same space makes sense. So here you have a nice dining room table, two fingers, you pull down, and the table folds automatically underneath. You can even leave stuff on the table. Instead of washing your dishes, putting the dishes in the rack, taking them from the rack, putting them in the cupboard, these guys put the two together, so it's a draining cupboard. Smart. We also believe that the future is in sharing systems. Bike share, car share. We also think there are many things that are expensive or take up a bunch of space, but most importantly, that you don't use very often, but you'd like to get access to. Might be a big stock pot or a cooler or a karaoke machine. There are all sorts of things. And so we believe that buildings should have product libraries where you just book things online, you can pick them up downstairs, stuff that you don't use very often. We also believe that spare bedrooms, considering they sit empty for 80% of the time, don't make a ton of sense. So imagine if your building had a rack of them that you could book out online, professionally cleaned, and then you could invite instead of one person, you could have 5 people over as long as you plan ahead. Next steps for LifeEdited as a company, we want to build big buildings composed of small spaces, paired with great sharing systems. So we want a lot of community, we want people to know their neighbors, professional kitchens. We need potential development partners to do this. We're in talks with a number. We're also looking for investors for our buildings. And one of the projects we're discussing is, which if you guys haven't heard about it, is amazing. Downtownproject.com, Tony Hsieh from Zappos is, I call it the Austinization of Las Vegas. So he's reinvigorating downtown. It's very cool. And so he's interested in small spaces. And so we're doing a test. And it turns out that if we build it on a trailer, that's the cheapest, fastest way to do it. And so this is the sexiest trailer that you've ever seen. Note the coffee table here, which comes up in height and in width. So you can seat, I think, 6 or 8 people. The bed, of course, over the couch. And looking the other way, a little office and a big screen used for work or entertainment. So this is your LifeEdited. And our belief is that done right, we can create lives that allow people to live within their means, both environmentally and also financially, and that can simplifying your life with less stuff to keep track of. It's going to give you a little more time, a little more ease, and a little more happiness. So please join us. Check out lifeedited.com or join our newsletter. Send an email to getnewsletter@lifeedited.com. Thank you.